All right, Grant Fisher here. He's back, 12:54. How do you feel about that one?
That's about as good as it could have gone, considering the build-up. So, oh man, I'm really happy. Yeah, it's been a rough past 2 months. Missing out on the team, missing out on Worlds. Sitting on my ass for a while, not doing anything. It doesn't feel great, but I'm really happy to be able to salvage something and have a good race and feel like myself again and have a healthy leg. That's most important. So yeah, it feels good.
Tell me about the build-up. Like, how long did you take off? When did you get back to running?
Yeah, so my leg started hurting about 2 weeks before USA's, raced USA's. And it was a bad MRI the night after the US 10K and shut it down. Didn't really do anything for about a week. Went up to Park City and was thinking, if I'm sitting on my ass doing nothing, might as well be at altitude. Thinking that I'll get fit off that, and after about a week started cross training. Had a rough first Alter G, a little premature getting on there, so I had to stop. And then had some good Alter Gs. I got on the ground about a month ago. About as soon as I could run on the ground, I flew to St. Moritz. Still holding out hope that I'd be on that 10K team. Even the day before the 10K, that was part of the reason I went to St. Moritz, was if someone pulled out, I could get there, and if my name was called, I would get on that start line whether I was prepared or not. So obviously that didn't happen, and it let me have a good about 3 weeks of workouts leading into this one. So I actually didn't expect it to go this well off of that build-up. But
I like Grant beat me, so you get points in the final.
Yeah, I got a few points out of it. So yeah, man, all things considered, like I'm proud of myself.
Yeah. Were you lobbying Sean to say, like, hey, let me take that 10K spot?
No, that's not how it should be. He's my teammate, he's my friend, but he earned that spot just like everyone else did in that 10K, and it's their right to take it or not. And I didn't want to influence him, to give it up for me, especially at that point. By the time Worlds came around, I'd probably been working out for a week and a half, so it's not like I was banging on the door like, hey man, I'm gonna medal, Yeah, so everyone earned those spots, so it's their decision to run or not. Yeah.
What was it like watching the World Championships?
Those first 2 days kind of sucked. I felt like kind of an imposter just watching, as a fan. I felt like I was back in college almost, watching all these things happen, but I'd kind of come to terms with it at that point. I know some people hate watching races that they're not in, but I liked watching them. It was good motivation, if anything, to want to get back out there and not just give up on the season and try to do something here.
Yeah, why? Some athletes would say, hey, I'm injured, I didn't make the team, Olympic next year, I'm just going to shut it down, not take any risks. Why did you want to get out here and compete again in 2023?
Well, the first thing in my head was getting to Worlds. Never, in my opinion, you should never pass up on an opportunity to go to Worlds and rep your country if you're healthy and able. There's different circumstances, but for me, that was the main motivator, to try to get healthy. And then I just didn't want to end on an injury, man. That's just kind of a bummer way to go into an Olympic year. I felt like I had good fitness, didn't want to just shut it down and have nothing to show. And I kind of needed to prove to myself, especially after watching Worlds, that I kind of still got it. And I can still race with these guys, and even if preparation's not optimal, I can still compete. So, was it the smartest thing, and would I recommend, kind of pushing the limit a little bit on recovery? Probably not, but that's just how I'm wired.
Yeah. Tell me about the race tonight. You had some decisions to make there, getting dropped, but then you fought back really well. Walk me through it.
Yeah, so pace was hot. We knew it was going to be hot going in. I was on it for a bit, and then the guys kind of accelerated, and when you're in a 5K, you know where that line is. After you run a bunch of them, what you can hold to the finish and what you can't, and I couldn't go with those guys, so I had to let it go, and I was kind of in no man's land for a bit. Bit of a lonely middle part of the race, but once Yomif kind of went, that pack behind him kind of started looking at each other, lulled a little bit. I was pressing the whole way. It's not like I was saving anything, but they came back to me, and that actually let me catch my breath a little bit because they lagged a little and could kick decent at the end. So, in a dream world, I would go with that pace the whole way, but it just wasn't in the cards today, and I knew it. So, all in all, about as good as could have gone.
Yeah. What does the rest of your season look like? Any more races lined up?
Well, this kind of changes things. The race today, Diamond League final could be on the table, points or with a bye, being a U.S. athlete. My original plan was to do a couple 3Ks and finish out the season and just kind of feel good going into next year. And I'm actually in better shape than I thought, so maybe Diamond League finals on the table, but we'll see.
How does that work? The U.S. gets one in every event, and like who gets that? Who makes that decision?
You tell me, man. I mean, I the way I understand it is the host country gets a bye in each event. And so, yeah, as a 5K guy, I would be in the running for it. And apparently in talks with the meet directors, I'm in the running for that spot. So Diamond League final is a big thing. It is a little late, in the year. But, I feel healthy. I feel good. I feel like I'm on the rise still, whereas a lot of people that raced Worlds maybe are a little tired now. So I'll chalk that up as an advantage. Obviously, I would have rather been at Worlds, but I'll take what I can get.
Yeah. I noticed in your interview with Run as well, you mentioned from last year to this year, you bumped up your mileage, maybe 10 miles a week.
Yeah.
Do you think that was a mistake in retrospect, or is it something you might try again next year?
I'd say that was a mistake. Yeah. Every year you learn something, and maybe that's my line. About 100, 110 miles a week is just pushing it a little much. So, during this period, I cross-trained pretty heavy, and turns out I can stay pretty fit cross-training. So maybe incorporate that more into just regular training. Instead of adding 10 miles, just add, a couple bikes or something, a couple Ultra Gs, and keep the fitness, but stay healthy.
What was the main form of cross-training you did?
Bike. Yeah.
Exercise bike or outside?
On an exercise bike, yeah. Outside, I didn't have a road bike, so yeah, it's easier to just have a purpose on the bike and do a tempo effort, the whole way or something. So yeah, exercise bike, elliptical, aqua jog. I don't really know how to swim, so no swimming. Yeah.
How much on the exercise bike, like per day, are we talking?
Total cross training a day, I was probably doing like 2-3 hours, among all the different types. So I was hitting it pretty hard. When I first started, the Tour de France was on, so I could pretend I was in that, and then could watch some soccer a bit when Women's World Cup was going. So kept the time going, but I'd rather be running, but it can keep you pretty fit. I mean, Elliot Giles does pretty well off of just mostly cross training. So
yeah, he's a big Elliptico guy, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, I appreciate the time. Great run out there.